Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here in this big hall full of people. I have asked the members of the roundtable, first of all, to introduce themselves just 30 seconds each, day and their institutions. So please, Caterina.
I'm Caterina Biscari, director of the ALBA Synchrotron since 2012, when the Synchrotron started its operation, and we are planning now the upgrade, of which there was some ideas in the report you just saw.
Anton from EATRIS ERIC, which is the European Infrastructure for Translational Medicine. We have 14 member countries and about 140 institutions. And happy to announce that Catalonia is definitely the most active of all the regions in EATRIS. I'm the CEO of EATRIS.
Martorell from Barcelona Supercomputing Center, a public consortium created 20 years ago. 800 people conducting research on high-performance computing and hosting the Mare Nostrum 4 and installing the Mare Nostrum 5 right now.
Okay. So Mònica Bayès, Strategy Coordinator at the Centre Nacional d'Anàlisi Genomics. That's a genomic infrastructure, the largest one in Spain and one of the top 10 in Europe, and performing whole genome sequencing and these kind of applications at large scale.
Okay. Thank you very much. So now I will launch some questions to the members of the roundtable. But first, I want to explain also in 30 seconds what is CERCA. CERCA is a big group of research institutes in Catalonia, 41 research institutes, most of them devoted to fields related to the bioregion. And one of the things that we do in CERCA is that in the last couple of years, we've joined efforts for working together with our research infrastructures. It's not the same to have 41 different infrastructures and full of different equipment, or just having a common strategy with a website, easy to find everything, and that's what we have at the moment. So we created that big platform that is called CERCA Change. Okay, so the questions we have for our invited people in the roundtable. The first one is about why are infrastructures so useful? I mean, do you think is there a relationship between the talent attraction and research excellence and the infrastructures that you have in your institution? Caterina?
Thanks. Of course, there is a big connection. I would say that the research infrastructure are incubators of talent and are incubators of science and innovation. Research infrastructures provide the state-of-the-art instruments for the research community. And you can find that only in specific research infrastructure. Therefore, having those conditions where you put together researchers coming from the public institutions and researchers coming from the industry makes the ideas grow, makes the possibility of collaborating between the two worlds, but also at international level. Our research infrastructures, the users come from everywhere, of course, from Spain, from Catalonia, a lot of them, but also from Europe and from outside Europe. Working together is a way of attracting ideas and therefore attracting talent.
Okay, Anton, please.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think what's important is also that it's the cutting-edge facilities that really you can then pick from the best of the talent. Because if you've got the latest machines, then you've definitely got the latest of the talent. But I don't think it's only the technology as well, but then it's also the peripheral support, the whole ecosystem there that can actually make you successful at collaborating, getting European funds, international collaboration. So I think it's really an ecosystem question where the technology underpins the attractiveness.
Okay, Josep Maria.
In our case, it's also pretty obvious. We sometimes like to define ourselves something like an onion or like a planet. So there's a nucleus and many layers around, right? The nucleus, of course, is the computer, is the facility. And then you can have there the first layer, which are all the computer scientists conducting research on the infrastructure, from hardware to software, from the design of the processor to the operating system of the machine. And then you can have there another layer of all the scientists conducting research on the application thanks to the machine. So having under the same roof these scientists in biology, physics, chemistry, engineering, wherever, the computer scientists, and then the infrastructure, it makes something like a virtuous circle. Without the infrastructure there, it wouldn't be possible at all.
Yes, yes. There's also a strong connection in our field between research infrastructure and excellent science. And we have many examples in genomics of really, really big breakthroughs and discoveries in which research infrastructures have been essential. One of them being the complete human the complete sequencing of the human genome, for example. Many of those accomplishments couldn't have been possible without having like big research infrastructures with state-of-the-art equipment. Computing also was key. So yes, strong connection.
Okay, thanks. Another crucial thing is how to access the equipment, the infrastructure, right? And here in the audience today, we have plenty of companies. And on the other side, the public sector is also pushing very much in updating the research infrastructures. So we need a connection between these huge infrastructures and the needs of the companies. So in your different institutions, how can companies have clear access to the infrastructures and equipments that you have? Caterina.
It's easy to be the first, always. Well, ALBA is a synchrotron where there are several experimental beamlines, and the access is different from the public sector, which comes through competitive calls, and therefore there is the selection of the proposals is done on excellence, and then there are the industrial sector. The industrial sector has direct access through our industrial liaison office, and of course, being as a public institution, they pay for the access. But what is important is that there is also the possibility, and this happens, we see in the public proposals, that there is connection many times between the researchers and the industry. And of course, whatever comes through the competitive calls must be published, while the industrial sector uses our beam time with confidentiality. And what we are developing always more is also a different set of services for the industry. Because the industry, depending on the industry, depending if the level of TRL on which they are going and for what they need the synchrotron, there is a huge difference on the kind of services that they want. And we go from fully automatized beamlines where the protein, for example, are sent from everywhere on the world and they get the data directly, to more complex services. And this is very important to give also services especially for those companies, the SME, the small and medium enterprise. I want to mention, for example, that in our, the synchrotron, the number of companies is about more than 70, and of these, almost 40% are from the pharma industry, and from this 40%, almost half of them is from Spain, but only one is from outside Catalonia. So there is a strong use of the synchrotron because of we have seen the numbers of Catalonia, but also because of vicinity. And this is also important to have the research infrastructures in an environment where you can grow together, and this is very important.
Thank you. Anton.
EATRIS is a service provider, so basically a company can come to us and let us know if they already really know what they need, which sometimes isn't the case. Sometimes it's actually not quite clear what the next step is in the validation of their product. But they come to us and we operate like a virtual farmer. So we have 140 institutions, and we understand basically where to find the best of the biology and the technology and the clinical expertise to help the user, basically. So we'll put together a research team necessary for that specific research request. Sometimes it actually means asking what the next steps might be before we decide on what the team is, and then supporting with that. And we actually can cover any therapeutic modality and any disease and any level of development, in fact. So it can be early validation of a biomarker through to a clinical proof of concept study in rare disease for gene therapy, for instance. So we really cover any area. What's neat is that we help the company find the partners, but if no research relationship happens, there's no cost to anybody. But if a research relationship happens with our institutes, then we charge a 5% fee on the cost of the study.
Okay, thanks.
In our case, I would say, first of all, two, let's say, constraints in all we are talking about. One is that at least in our case, but I suspect it's pretty similar in your cases, the main bottleneck is not the technology and infrastructure by the people, but the people. So in our case, there's a lot of computational resources all over the world to be used. But where's the people that are able to program the software you really need to solve your problem and that are able to run those computational systems, right? So this is a very first thing to comment from my side. And the other thing is that we cannot think on ourselves as an isolated computer because we are members of the European network of supercomputers. So it does not matter if, in this case, there's not this local thing of, you don't have to be there to use a supercomputer. So many times researchers in our universities are using computers in Finland because maybe this computational architecture is better for their software, or there are Ireland scientists using our computers. So there's a thing to be considered at the European level. Said that, all our computational resources all over Europe are open to external users. It does not matter if you come from a public or a private institution. The only thing you have to be committed is to competition. So our resources are open for free, but of course under competition. So if you want to use one of these large systems in Europe, what you have to do is to present the best proposal you can, and of course you're being evaluated, and then depending on the rank, and you have access on one machine or the other, of course. In our case, I don't know if it's the same in your fields. Not a lot, but a few number of European companies have their own supercomputers. There are some companies in oil and gas, in energy, in pharma even, maybe 5 to 10 in Europe, right? They can afford not only having the large facility there and being upgraded every 5-6 years, but also having enough group of people with all the capabilities to program these machines, to maintain them, etc. But of course, this is only for some very specific large companies all over Europe. All the rest go to these facilities, our machine, the machine in Italy, the one in Finland, the one in Germany, all the machines on the European HPC network. And I think all together are able to guarantee the access to these resources to most of the European companies that really need to use these resources.
We have one reaction from Caterina, please.
Yes, there is one thing that I didn't mention before, that through European projects with funds from the European Commission, it is possible also to access the Synchrotron, not only ALBA, but all the Synchrotrons in Europe, for the SME, for the first approach. And this is very useful because sometimes you break the wall that you see for this large infrastructure just applying to the project that is called Tamata. For those of you who may be interested, you can find information in the web page, where if you are a SME, you can go there, do your proposal, and then be redirected to one of the synchrotrons in Europe, and this for free. And then after, once you get your use and you find that useful, you can proceed with the normal industrial use.
Okay, thank you. Mònica.
Yes, probably our services work quite differently. First, they are not for free. It would be impossible to provide genomic services for free. Secondly, we do have some kind of competitive access, but only for large projects, because we are dealing with hundreds of projects every year. So genomics projects can be very small or very large, and it would be impossible to carefully evaluate all of them. And most of them have been already evaluated by a funding agency. The truth is that. So this. And In terms of regarding the companies, what is our collaboration with companies? In our case, most of our users come from the public sector, most of the researchers. We do collaborate with companies. We would like to collaborate more with companies, probably in 3 different ways we are doing right now. First of all, is just providing services to them. Companies just knock on the door and we provide genomic services. Another way is, like Caterina was mentioning, participating in European projects or in research projects together with companies, and we are starting to do that more and more often. We are participating in these innovative health initiative programs with these big pharmas that Robert was mentioning, with Sanofi and this one. So this is also a big opportunity for us. And finally, we are now exploring a third way of collaborating with them that is on these public innovation procurement processes. This is quite new, complicated, but just going with companies to try to present an offer for an innovative solution in a tender together with a company. So we are there, but I have to say that it's not our main business right now.
Okay. If you are a company and you have a big map of institutions where you can go to make your experimentation, to use the technologies of these institutions, sometimes it's very hard to choose one of them, right? So you may need some hubs in the Catalan map. What do you think about the policy of infrastructures that we should have in the bioregion? We should have these hubs, or each of the individual institutions should have the right to do everything on that infrastructure? What's the balance between the small institutional or the network and big hubs? What do you think, Caterina?
Well, I think it's essential that there is a general strategy, and that goes with the need of optimizing resources, not duplicating things. Always leaving, of course, each individual institution to decide on the mainstreams, but there must be an overview of what are the strategic decisions. And I want to mention here one important initiative, which is this Catalan electron microscope platform, which is based on collaboration funds with ERD funds and the contribution of different institutions. And this is now becoming a reality with 2 centers. One is in the University of Barcelona, and another one is in ALBA, where there are now two microscopes, and one of them is dedicated to life science. And it's, in this moment, we have opened the call for this CRAO-EM just now. If you go to our web, also you can see that there is an open call for the users. And this is an excellent example of how, if you have resources, it's better to share and to have different institutions contributing, because it's the way that, first of all, you optimize resources, and what is also more important, you put together the people. Pep was mentioning before the people. That is the crucial thing, that you have people talking together and joining forces to give a better service to the society.
Thanks. Please.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think the institutions obviously need to compete and on their scientific strategies, because competition is healthy for a system. But the infrastructure itself, if you want to remain globally competitive, you make big investments, and you need to be able to utilize those investments to the maximum. So I think it should be shared infrastructures under core facilities. And as you said, also so that the technologists operating the machines, there's enough investment in that. Companies, when they come and use a facility, they don't want publications. They want to know that that machine is going to read out an analyte that is going to tell them exactly about the performance of their product. And you need good technologists to do that. So I think it's very important to invest in the technologies, share the utilization of them, and share and make sure that the technologists that operate in the infrastructure are the best in the business as well. Okay,
we have just a little bit of time for very concrete answers, otherwise we don't have time for questions. So 30 seconds each.
Perfect. In our case, it's pretty easy, because all over Europe, we work like a pyramid. There's a small number of exascale machines, a bit more of petascale machines, and then a lot of small machines in all hospitals, universities, and research centers. In our case, we need all these machines all over our institutions, and then our challenge is becoming always at the first tier, at the top of the pyramid. So right now, this is what we are doing with the Mare Nostrums, and so far we as the local ecosystems can have all the distributed capacities all over our institutions, but also one of the top European ones.
Okay. Mònica.
Yeah, I mean, I would fully agree with Caterina in the sense that if we want to have a coherent map that addresses all the gaps and needs and without duplications, you need some kind of policy. I don't know which one, but you need some kind of policy there, or maybe not a policy, but an evaluation system, no? A good evaluation system that really takes care and aspects like who's going to use this instrument, how often is going to be used, what alternatives are out there. No, sometimes this is missing in these evaluations that only take into account science. But yes.
Okay, thank you. We have time for 1 or 2 questions in the audience. Anyone who is especially interested in using the big infrastructures in Catalonia? Okay. Well, if not, or in the meanwhile, I just ask to any of you that wants to answer about the challenges. Which are the challenges you think we have in front of us, we need to face in the BioRegion of Catalonia in the next years, about infrastructures? Please, Anton.
I think that digital transformation is providing, it's going to provide a lot of headaches for a lot of years to come, because the quality of the data is still questionable in biomedical research. Access to the data is very difficult. GDPR is killing us. So also invest in executive board level decision making that pushes down in your organization to make things work. Because what's happening is we're seeing at all levels and every sector, the lawyers are pushing the risk to zero, and it means we're not able to collaborate. And this is hurting us, and we're losing our competitiveness because we're not able to put together the data sets we need to. And I think without really high-level intervention on this, we're going to suffer and we're going to lose competitiveness globally. So I think digital transformation, artificial intelligence, we got to work together, and we got to fix some of these systemic problems, and we got to stop hiding behind GDPR. It's dangerous.
Okay, thanks. Any other opinion?
In our case, maybe I would like to highlight the challenge on the diversity of our users. So our business 10, 15 years ago was really simple. CPU-based machines and people developing software on, fluid mechanics, classic chemistry, things like that. In the last 10, 15 years, CPU-based machines and GPUs and a lot of data storage facilities, a lot of physicians and biologists asking for artificial intelligence, more and more diversity in terms of needs, softwares, computational architectures, etc. This is for us clearly the main challenge for the next future. Yeah.
Okay, 30 seconds. Any other thing? Please.
I think we need to be prepared to give a general solution to the big challenges with not instruments, but just with a complex system to give solutions to what will be the next problems, like can be the animal health, food security. And so we need to have a system which can react all together to what are the problems that the society will be facing. Okay,
thank you so much. You've fit exactly to what we expected in the roundtable, as far as I understand. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I hope it was interesting for everybody. Thank you. Thanks a lot.